Hey guys, it is Jeremy again. Welcome back to Books and Coffee, and today I have a little bit of a different video. I decided to take a small break from my Pride videos because the past three have all pretty much been for Pride Month. I am going to be doing a book discussion on, this is not my formal book review. I haven't read this book in about a decade.
I read it for the first time in 2009 when I first discovered the series. So if you have not read this book and you have every intention of reading this book, this is not the video I would recommend watching because there will be huge spoilers for this entire chunky, huge, thick beast of a novel. And if you're, I just wouldn't recommend watching this if you have not read this book. This video, as the title shows, I'm going to be talking about the problematic aspects of Breakingdawn, or a lot of the problematic aspects that I found that I feel like Stephenie Meyer really missed the mark on with this last story. So I'm not going to hold the book up the whole time, but I will kind of hold it occasionally for the duration of this video. So we're going to talk about why in almost every way this book and the plot line was totally wrong for this series. Now, if you've read the first three books, Twilight, New Moon, and Eclipse, then you'll know this is pretty much a very, very amazing type love story between Edward and Bella, and in a way it kind of evolves around Edward, Bella, and Jacob. It is a love triangle type series, and the way that Stephenie Meyer has crafted these characters and this world where it's much more of a kind of contemporary fantasy setting, where it's much more about the characters than it is the world in which these books are set in. And for me, in so many ways, I feel like Stephenie Meyer she did the wrong things with this book. So we're going to start in the very beginning. These are the major plot points of the novel. Edward and Bella get married. Edward and Bella have sex. Bella gets pregnant. Jacob imprints on Bella's baby. The entire rest of the book, for like 400 or 500 pages, is dedicated to worrying about Bella. Is she going to live if she has the baby? What's going to happen to Renesmee? The Vittori has now found out. They're trying to protect her. Those are the major plot points of this 754-page book. Moving on. I was fine with Edward and Bella getting married. I kind of knew that was going to happen from what happened in Eclipse, from them being engaged. I kind of knew that was going to happen. But when I first read this book in 2009, 10 years ago, and I was in high school at the time when I was reading this, I don't really remember if it was a weekend. All I know is I was reading it, and it's like you find out that she's pregnant. The first 138 pages are in Bella's perspective, and then we get like this much in Jacob's perspective, and then it goes back to Bella's perspective. So 138 pages, so roughly about 100 pages or so into the novel, we find out that after Bella and Edward have had sex for the first time, or first couple of times I'm guessing, we find out that Bella is pregnant. Now, for one thing, this shouldn't even be possible, because according to the world of Twilight, when you are a vampire, all of your bodily fluids, from your cells in your body to your blood to your urine to your sperm if you're a man, all of those things that are in the human body that are a liquid, basically they either dry up or they just completely disappear. It says that in the Twilight Official Illustrated Guide, and Stephenie Meyer has said that on multiple occasions over the course of the years. So for the fact that Bella got pregnant, this is a YA teenage series that is loved and read by primarily teenage type girls. I'm the example. I kind of watched the first movie and I fell in love with it. Me being a dude does not, discredit anything. It's whatever at this point. So, and I put the book in front of me. I slapped my bookmark in my book. I pushed it away from me, and I started crying out of frustration and also out of anger, because I'm like, how are you going to ruin a amazing love story like this with a child? Now, I'm not saying that having kids ruins romance. I'm just saying, for a fictional love story that we are being told, how are you going to ruin that by bringing in a freaking child? I hate pregnancy storylines. I hate them so much, especially when it comes to like a fantasy story. I really don't like them. We see them so much, and I was like, Stephanie, like, what are you doing? And what makes me even more curious is that I wish her editor and the publisher would have said, you're not doing this. I wish they would put their foot down, but unfortunately, I'm pretty sure they let her do whatever she wanted with this, considering that this series was insanely popular. And I always like to say this because I think it's very impressive. This book sold 1 million copies. 1 million copies the day it came out. This was 2008, so I don't know if we were doing ebook at that time, but the majority of those copies were the hardcover editions. This is the hardcover I have, except for it's not a first printing. It's when I bought in my box set that I got through Barnes & Noble in 2014, but the hardcover box set for the Twilight series are like not available anymore. Like, I'm guessing they just didn't sell, so the only box set of the series you can get is the White Collection. For those who want to know, we're gonna move on. But I was like, yeah, so pregnancy storyline, for one, logically, it's not even supposed to be possible. Like, literally, Edward is not even supposed to have sperm. Like, it shouldn't even be a thing. But once again, we're not really explained these things because Stephenie Meyer didn't care to explain it. She tried to a little bit. I think there's a few scenes where there's like old legends and things like that, and whatever. And like, I mean, the only thing that possibly could have made sense, like if he actually did have sperm left from when he was a human, but considering he's 100 years old, I would think it would have just like vanished or dried up or whatever by now, because he's like 109 or something, 107, something like that. So I'm not buying it. Nice try, Stephenie Meyer. No offense, I still love your books. So that was part one. The one thing I really did enjoy about this book that I'm going to go and say a little bit is we get 10 chapters of this novel in Jacob's perspective. This kind of is like a trope with the final book of like classic YA series, or at least classic YA paranormal series, where a lot of authors were putting like new perspectives or a different perspective into the last book. I know that the Twilight series does this. The Castor Chronicles series, Beautiful Creatures, does this. The last book to the Divergent trilogy does that. Matched series does this. There's several others, but it's kind of a thing that really happened with a lot of classic YA series. But one of the major points is I think the one that makes me most furious is because of this baby. We are constantly worried for hundreds of pages. Almost all 10 chapters that we get in Jacob's perspective is completely set around the fact that, is Bella gonna live? Because, Bella's human, and vampires, well, they're not human. It's superhuman strength. So the baby is growing very rapidly, very quickly, which doesn't make sense to me. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. Like, I know vampires, but it's whatever. So instead of it being born in like 9 months, it's born in like a month, I think. It's been years. It's been like I said, it's been like 10 years, but whatever. So I'm like, okay. And so there are just plot points in this book that just don't make any sense to me, and I'm like constantly wondering why Stephenie Meyer decided to do this. Like, why would you do a baby plot point storyline that is so out of left field for this story? It just, like, it doesn't go with the other books. And Breakingdawn is meant to feel like this is a very adult story. There are some fans who even think that this book shouldn't have been written and put into the YA genre. There's a lot of people who have stated that this should have been published as an adult book. But that would have been really stupid, have the first 3 in YA and the last book be adult, so I understand why that just didn't happen. But anyway, and then Bella literally almost dies having the baby. Then she's a vampire, and then the last 400, I think it's 400 pages. Sorry about this, I'm just trying to find... Here we go. So this book is 700. Yeah, so like the last 440 pages of this book are completely set around Bella being a newborn vampire, them worrying about Renesmee, then the Volturi is after them because Irina basically had this tiff where she was like, well, I don't want to be part of the fucking Cullens because, they're friends with the werewolves, and the werewolves killed my lover Rant, and it's... You're blonde. Get the fuck over it, bitch. Seriously. But apart from that, she basically sees Renesmee and believes that the Cullens created an immortal child, and because she's a freaking twat waffle, she runs to the Volturi and says, she shows Arrow that the Cullens have created an immortal child, so they're gathering this huge army to go fight them or to bring justice or some other fucking bullshit. And so for 500 pages of this book. The last 500 pages of this book is completely set around the fact that they're trying to grab witnesses to protect a fucking baby. Okay, not a baby. It's roughly around a toddler, and she's about a toddler by the end of the book. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? This is it. This is your big storyline that you're going to do for this series. So basically, the entire plot line of the entire book of Breakingdawn is Bella and Edward have gotten married, they have started a family, and now they have to protect Bella and to protect Renesmee from the Volturi, and, not really Bella, but mainly Renesmee from the Volturi because, they could possibly all die, and I'm like, this was not worth 754 pages of nothing. This used to be one of my favorite series, and don't worry, it still is. And I've had this opinion of Breakingdawn ever since I read this book. I've just never said it, and honestly, this, on Goodreads, I still gave this book 5 stars. Why? Nostalgic reasons mostly. And I did really like a lot of things in this book, but I can't look at this book without looking at this book and being disappointed. Because I'm disappointed. Ultimately, this book was a disappointment. This book didn't live up to what I wanted it to be. Now I'm gonna share with you what would have made this book so much better. So, I wish that Bella would have had a boy, and his name would have been EJ, which sounds fucking retarded, but that's supposed to signify for Edward Jacob, to signify, her husband and her longtime best friend Jacob. And what would have made this book so much better if Jacob would have imprinted on Bella's son, making Jacob gay. And oh my gosh, I would have loved this book. Of course, Stephanie Meyer never would have done that because Stephanie Meyer is a Mormon, and Mormons hate gay people. So, yeah, that's true. Look it up for yourself if you don't believe me. Yeah, they are the Mormon Church has kicked out members because they are gay. Learned that myself too. But anyway, that would have been so freaking awesome, and I feel like it could have just opened so many doors of conversation between Edward and Bella. Jacob kind of realizing that, and yes, I would have been all freaking over that storyline, and I think I would have been even okay with Edward imprinting on Bella's child, even though it's not weird, because, he's not in love with a baby. He doesn't want to have sex with a baby. I've discussed that on this channel too. That's not what Jacob wants to do. He imprints on the person that they will grow to be, because he can see that. It's kind of a future thing, kind of not a future thing. He basically sees who they will become, and he kind of, in a way, in that sense, falls in love with that person that they are when they're an adult. Sounds really confusing. That's just how this book was when it's kind of explained a little bit in Eclipse about imprinting, and then we did a little bit more in Breakingdawn. But honestly, if Stephanie Meyer would have chosen that storyline, I think I would have loved her even more, and I probably I would have forgiven everything wrong with this book and overlooked it immediately if she would have chosen that type storyline, because I would have loved that. But I also feel like Stephanie Meyer had Bella get pregnant for two reasons: to have Edward and Bella have this, we're both vampires and immortal, and we're going to have a perfect daughter who's going to be immortal too, so they give the fairy tale family, and to have Jacob have some kind of mate, so everyone is together. Nobody of the main central family ends up dying. Everyone has a partner. Everyone's happy. Everybody is wonderful. And I just feel like for a vampire fantasy type series, this book really missed the mark. And series missed the mark. I mean, death is a part of a lot of things. And yeah, I didn't want to see any of these characters die because I love a lot of them, but it is a little bit unrealistic to the point where nobody ends up dying. That's like our main characters. I mean, I wouldn't have cared if, say, one of the Coens had died outside of Edward and Bella, and obviously Jacob. But honestly, if Stephanie Meyer would have chosen, Edward, Jacob turning out to be gay, I would have loved this book. Ultimately, absolutely loved it. But this is my video. And I just feel like this book was just a kind of a letdown. It was kind of a letdown. I mean, I'm still going to see it as 5 stars. I'm still going to read it. I'll still reread it. But I can't look at this book and say it's a flawless book like I can with the first 3 books. The first 3 books were absolutely perfect. There's a lot of people who, even livid fans that loved the shit out of the first 3, they read this book and they were just as disappointed as I am. And they have a lot of reasons, a lot more than I do, why they hate this book. And there's a lot of people who look at Twilight as a trilogy. And to be perfectly honest with you, Stephanie Meyer really could have ended this series with Eclipse. I think, Eclipse, we know they're going to get married. All the characters were in a somewhat good place except for maybe Jacob. And I feel like the entire point of Breakingdawn was just to have Jacob have a mate. I think that was really the entire point of this book. And so instead of, having Jacob meet somebody, it's like, oh, well, we'll have Edward and Bella get pregnant. 2 birds, 1 stone. They get to start a family, and we have a mate for Jacob. That's pretty much it. That's just my opinion. You can disagree, you can agree. I don't do disclaimers on this channel, so I'm not going to do one, but that was my feelings of this entire novel in a complete nutshell. So let me know what you thought of this video. Let me know if you want more videos where I kind of rip things apart like this. It's kind of my first rant, I guess. And I will talk to you guys in another video. And I have a couple more Pride videos that I might be filming tomorrow. So yes, so I will see you guys in my next video, and have a great day. Bye.